All right, so this is the Warhammer 40K competitive tournament recap. Day 3 coming at you with the last 2 rounds of the tournament. So we are going to be condensing these 2 games down into roughly 20 minutes, just kind of giving you what worked, what didn't work, and simply passing that knowledge on to you. So if that's something that interests you, you're going to want to stick around because I really do believe even if you're not a Necron player, you'll still get a lot of value out of the stuff I'm going to talk about in these matchups of what went wrong, what went right. So without further ado, let's get into it. So day 3, I think it's safe to say at this point with a super major, everybody's running on fumes. Playing 8 games in 3 days is a lot. But it's still a blast. It's long days, everything else. But I was fortunate enough to get matched up into a fellow teammate again, Mr. Joel himself. And Joel, it's great because so he long story short, he's known me since I was a kid. Since I was like probably 10, 11 years old, we played at the same game store back in 3rd edition. And he played, all throughout, but he took a break between 8th and 9th. He played a lot of 7th and I think a little bit of 8th. And he recently came back for 10th. And he is a very, very good player. Very fortunate where he lives close. We're able to, get practice games in all the time. And he was definitely one of my, main practice partners in terms of trying to figure out this Knights matchup. So it was pretty hilarious when we paired into each other. And this is the 3rd Knight matchup of the tournament. Surprisingly, I never played Death Guard once. I was actually shocked about that. So going into this game, I knew it was going to be tough, but this is a good thing to talk about is the fact that, in a singles tournament, every army has, some not so great matchups. I mean, it is very much a rock, paper, scissors situation. Now, Knights, on the other hand, it's a little bit more than others, I would say right now. But, you can't really look at the game and be like, oh, man, this is just like an auto L here. You have to figure out some sort of ways to maybe keep it close, keep it interesting, and, see if maybe you can pull out a win here. Now, one thing I'd like to talk about before I even get into the battle report was a huge learning opportunity for me when it comes to the terrain on the board. So both Joel and I agreed before the game that if you do look in the tournament companion and also on tabletop battles, on this layout specifically, on layout 2, with search and destroy, let me get my my pointers up here. You can technically not hold a unit behind this wall. You'll see that the footprint is exactly flush with the wall based on the diagram. But I got clarification from the judges, and I actually talked to Scary afterwards, as well as crazy seeing him at the tournament, just to get some clarification on this. And they're saying it's just like as the table is, or as the terrain is. So in this case, we actually could have been able to hold units behind the wall. They would have had to been like right up against the wall, but it would have changed the dynamic of the game a little bit. I don't know if that would have like ever swung the game like in my favor, but I think it would have changed definitely the play pattern of what happened in this game. Because it was very drawish, and it created a problem, which I'm going to highlight later on here. But going into this game, knowing that, I didn't have the luxury of putting the flayed ones or something else behind this wall. And because of that, I was like, okay, the next obvious position is we're just going to be able to line, this wall right here. And in this matchup, I know as well that, and Joel's played this many times, where even though I am running the 3 DDAs, I don't have the luxury of being able to fit all of them on the board because of this search and destroy layout. And I can't afford to have one just exposed and him being able to pop at turn 1, especially when he's running, I think he had 3 Helverins. And they can just shred DDAs with the anti-fly. It's not good. So This was in particular kind of a tough layout for me because if anything, I wanted to be able to deploy all my firepower, but I couldn't. And I knew I had to have the race play the center of the board because he is going to be playing the center relatively strong. And if I don't have a good way to put a lot of OC on there, the game is going to fall apart very quickly, especially because it's on take and hold as well, which is definitely something I think Knights want to play on just because they can create a big primary delta early because of their high OC. So let's go into the game here. So it was kind of close, but also like kind of not at the same time. Joel is going to get first turn, which I think helped make the game maybe a little bit more interesting. At least I had some, bottom of turn scoring. And this is essentially what his first turn looks like. So this is something I want to highlight here that was kind of tough to try to figure out is the fact that because all of these objectives are exposed, he had the luxury of just basically being able just to put a big knight on this objective and just saying like, what do you want to do about it? And unfortunately, there's no way for me really to get enough firepower where these lanes are to be able to interact with this big knight. So long story short, it's like I'm just basically exposing my anti-tank for nothing. And unfortunately, I did not have the same luxury over here because I could put flayed ones on there, but there is a world where like he could advance like a Lancer or the one of the Helverins and potentially just deny the point. Now, granted, if I did have flayed ones here, at least it does force him to come out and play early and creates like less of this kind of cat and mouse or kind of castling type game. But hey, it is what it is. So going into the bottom of turn one, this is essentially what the board state what the board state looks like. We're pushing up a Locust Destroyer here just to create essentially like a screen. We're dropping the Ophidians down here to again create a kind of a nice screen back here so we can't drop this guy right here somewhere, and we're basically denying the center. So he's still going to hold his 10s. We're just going to get Baby Cleanse on the first turn, discard Area Denial because I can't really afford to bring out my anti-tank to maybe kill this Helverin. And then I just get, clap back, unfortunately, in return. So that's essentially where the first turn ended up, and we are going to fast forward here. So this is essentially turn two. Not much happened. Outside of, he did leave me a nice little pocket for these Tomb Blades to come in. And this is something that, again, I loved the freaking Tomb Blades for in this tournament. They were clutch in so many games of just doing weird maneuvers like this where, if I draw behind enemy lines or something like that the next turn, they have big flexibility to get behind, take this objective because I can flat 18 and get over there and potentially kill his character on the objective. So it's super clutch. So not really much happened. I'm going to be honest. He played it right where he's like, hey, you don't really have a way to deny my primary and interact with this knight. And he just knew he could cash in 10s every turn. And it's like, unless you start interacting with this Helverin here, it's probably going to be GG. So going into later in the game, he does make a clutch move where the Tomb Blades elect to not fire and fade on the objective because he had not drawn Storm Hostile or Overwhelming Force yet. And so it does open up the door for him because he was going to hold 10 on primary, I believe, no matter what. So he ends up dropping in his big knight on the objective to essentially still lock in 10 primary going into turn 3. And more or less we were like, okay, turn 3, this is basically like the go turn. And, we're just going to try to start getting stuff off the table. So we ended up getting the 2 Helverins off the table. And then I think we did some like chip damage to another knight, and then that was pretty much it. Okay. He was able to get the race down a decent amount. I believe I did missequence the race a little bit in terms of like being able to reanimate and then doing the react move or like how I pulled. But wasn't like a crazy error or anything like that. I think it was just like a minor thing I noticed like in the game. And then essentially this is his turn 4 where he's like, okay, now like, we need to push here. And knowing that like I just don't have a way to interact with like all of these knights, right? So at this point, going into my turn, I'm like, all right, like let's see, maybe what we can do here. We are gonna have full firepower on these knights. I'm giving myself like maximum options here in terms of what I can do. And then we're going to try to charge in the king to try to clean this up. Unfortunately, the king, he did fail the charge. I think it was like 7 inches re-rolling. So that just did not help the situation whatsoever. So the king was just basically just sitting there, unfortunately. So, which, hey, it happens sometimes. It happens. So basically, yeah, going into, let's see, do I have any more pictures here? I think he's like measuring some stuff, and this is basically what the end of the game looks like. As you can see, just could not really kill a big. I think I just killed like the 2 Helverins, and I mean that's, if you're wondering how the IK matchup goes for Necrons, this is basically what you're looking at. Now, the board did not help at all. And then I think the biggest thing is that you see like in the scoreboard is like I could only hold 5s every turn, and there was no way for me to prevent him from holding 10s, which was tough. So he definitely played it right. And, overall, I mean, it was a great freaking match. So we took our 3rd loss of the tournament. So we're 4-3 right now. So our 2 losses was against, what did we lose? 1,000 Suns, IK, and the Raven, the Dark Angels detachment, the Company of Hunters. So, and this is what we talked about, where it's like, to really do well or do like really well in a GT is you got to figure out ways to overcome some of your like statistically problematic matchups. And IK and T Suns are definitely at the top of the list right now. And, you got to find ways to maybe sometimes edge out those wins. But, sometimes it is tough, get good opponents with the good army. It's a tough one to crack. So going into round 8, we are playing against Alec with the Demon Chaos Demons, the Demonic Incursion. And boy, was this a great game. So we are looking at this, trying to go 5-3. He was a great opponent to just finish off the tournament with. So if you end up watching this, man, super appreciate you. And just good. It was just a good game of Warhammer. I mean, just great transparency back and forth. Like, just bull super chill. Like, hey, man, what are you trying to do? Like, okay, just make sure you don't move this here. That type of like help back and forth. It was just it was great. So this matchup was interesting. So, and we talked about this afterwards, and maybe this will be good for him to see as well if he ends up watching this. Is I would have liked to see a little bit more pressure from him early. Now, we were playing Scorched Earth, Crucible of Battle, Layout 2. And I did go second again on this matchup, which I'm not going to lie, definitely did help. And the biggest thing in this matchup that I was looking for is kind of similar thing here, where all of the objectives are out in the open. And so mainly what I'm looking for with the race is where can I hide my synergistic pieces? So again, this is also going to be in the center of the battlefield. I also need to make sure that I have the best way possible to hide the Technomancer against this detachment, because he has like just precision everywhere. So I have to be very careful. And I knew like when the race staging up, this was going to be a nice pocket for the Technomancer to live, where there's just really no way he's going to be able to get an angle to precision him out. Because if he's able to do that, this game just completely changes in the other direction. But this literally came down to the very last turn. It was like freaking epic. So going into this matchup, what I'm looking mainly to expose is the fact that he does not have any long-range anti-tank, and he's not running Be'lakor. And I think because he wasn't running Be'lakor, it significantly helped me in this matchup because of the fact that there's no way for him, a good way for him to really play around the DDAs. And so they can just essentially, as you can see here in my deployment, we're just sitting in the firing lines intentionally. Where I'm like, if you want to come out and play, like this one can come over here. You can see how we cover the board. So it's like, if you want to come out and play, like you're going to have to accept that this DDA, no matter where you're standing, it's hitting on twos with devs, because he doesn't have anything to threaten the arcs downfield. Okay. And then we're also staying outside of his threat ranges, like with Scarbrand and the dogs, everything else. So basically the only thing that we're giving him is he can hit Locust Destroyers or Race. That's if you want to hit Locust Destroyers or Race or Flayed Ones. Be my guest, right? So going into the first turn, you're going to see how this game unfolds here. Let's flip over to the score. So going to the first turn, he stages up more or less like as good. He moves up the dogs. He gets established Locust and Assassination, so he's going to discard Assassination for a CP. And he gets Locust. Extremely strong combo here where he has the Beast of Nurgle, which is 3 OC, and this boy, which is OC 8. So because he did make the advance on the objective, there's no way for me to just advance Flayed Ones on here and deny his primary turn 1, which would have been awesome, but not the case. So mainly going into turn 1, all I'm looking to do is, because he did give me the Guo on a silver platter, I'm like, hey, might as well just do some chip damage to him. So I believe we moved out a DDA. We shifted up the Flayed Ones. Let me see what this looked like here. Yeah, so we basically just shot Minears and a DDA. Oh, let me get the right button here. So just Minears, DDA, and then we kept this DDA here to clean up or do some damage to the Guo, just to get him down, because there was nothing else threatening this, and might as well just do some free damage to him. So Flayed One stayed here because he's got a nasty flamer. So if he wants to bring this Beast of Nurgle out to trade here, be my guest. And then the Locust Destroyer is intentionally moving up here. And this is a really good thing to point out, is against Demonic Incursion, we're looking to screen our 6s, right? So you're seeing how this is very tactically placed here, right? So we're screening out all of our little pockets, or if this makes it easier to see, we're screening out this pocket, this pocket, this pocket, this pocket, and this pocket. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you're not playing Necrons, like if you're just playing another army, just translate this into your units. And this is how you have to play a detachment like this, where again, you know, you're keeping these areas safe where he can't drop. And you're essentially forcing him. It simplifies your headspace where you're like, okay, you can drop in this area right here, and then you get to hit the same thing. You get to hit Race, you get to hit a Locust Destroyer, or you get to hit Flayed Ones, or you could potentially go after the King with -1 damage. Okay, but you're not going to be able to hit these arcs because those are like the key. They are the gold in this matchup. Like, they are going to help try to swing the game in the other direction. Okay, so going into later part of the game, let's see how this unfolds here. So he does end up pushing up the Beast of Nurgle, which, as expected, I think that's like a good rule of thumb. Like, use it before you lose it. So it wasn't really doing much anything else. Like, let's try to see if we can clean up a resource. He does bring down the Bloodthirster via Deep Strike, but you're going to see here, because where the Race are, again, he doesn't have a really good place to drop it. Because of the fact that he doesn't want to be getting hit by DDAs with Devwoods. Like, that does not sound super exciting, and I don't blame him. So going into his turn, he's still cashing in 10s. He is going to get Secure No Man's Land for 5 because he is going to move on to this objective and this objective, and then he passes it over to me. So bottom of turn 2, this is essentially what it looks like. So we're basically, this turn, it's an easier turn for me as well, where essentially bottom of 2, we are shooting at the dogs, we're shooting at the Beast of Nurgle, and that is pretty much it. So we are just whittling down his board control, we're whittling down his pieces to do actions, and I think at this point he is definitely starting to feel the pressure of like, hey, I definitely need to do something now or this game is just going to get out of control. And he does do that. So this is his turn 3. And these, by the way, I thought his list was like super cool, even though he wasn't running Be'lakor, but it was cool tech. And I think the coolest tech in it was these, I think Ren Masters, I think is what they're called. So they have this ability where if they're within 18 inches of a unit, they nominate them and they get, it's like +1 damage, +1 strength, and +1 AP. And you can stack it. So it's super good when you're charging in with like a freaking Bloodthirster and his strike is like D6 plus like 6 damage or D6 plus 4 damage. It's something crazy. So super cool tech. And he's like, all right, well, basically now it's go time. So he's bringing the dogs in through the aura, Bloodletters, Bloodthirster, and he's hitting what I want him to hit. He gets to hit the race. Now, I don't know if I have a picture of this or not. I don't. So, okay. So this is a really good thing to talk about and something that we were both very transparent about because I didn't want to like gotcha him, even though this is part of like the general rules. But I was just like, dude, like, this is what I'm looking to do. Just make sure you attack or sequence your melee attacks appropriately because essentially what happened, the Bloodthirster charged in, the dogs charge in, and the Bloodletters charge in. And this is another really good thing to talk about. So you have essentially the dogs right here, what's his face right here, and then the Bloodletters are right here. Okay. So very high level play, what can happen is whatever target goes first, I can pull units in a way where I'm going to pull these race out of combat to where when he piles in with another unit, like the Bloodthirster or the Bloodletters, they're not going to be able to attack. And unfortunately, that was the problem. So he charged in. The dogs ended up doing a decent amount of damage to the race, but it wasn't enough to get rid of them. So the Bloodletters used their 6-inch consolidate. They piled into the king, which I think was a smart play because he wants to tie the king up. And the king, even if he spikes, he doesn't actually probably kill the unit because it also had a character versus just me being able to shoot these Bloodletters for free. So unfortunately, he charged all of these assets in and he bounced, right? He didn't kill anything in return. And unfortunately, it does open up my entire army to just shoot at him the next turn. It was not good. So essentially, this was the board state going into turn 4. And now we're basically, the game has opened up. He's lost quite a bit of resources at this point. And really what it came down to, it was so we moved the DDA here to burn the objective in turn 4. Tomb Blades go over here to storm hostile the objective. And we drop the Ophidians here for behind enemy lines. And we pass it over to him. And really what the game came down to, otherwise it would have been a tie. There's actually 2 things. One, you're going to notice that the king is on 6 wounds. The Bloodthirster charged in. I think he got 4 wounds through, and I CP rerolled one of them and made it. Otherwise, the king would have died, and I think that also would have changed the dynamic of the game. So, learning opportunity, like don't be afraid to CP reroll like a invul save, especially if it means if it's going to keep your 400-point unit alive. So going into the turn here, so basically what it came down to, turn 5, let me see if I have it here. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay, so basically what it came down to, this was like bottom of turn 5, and it literally came down to me killing the Guo that had like 6 wounds left, and so I had to literally line up all of my DDAs, king, DDA here, and I'm like, okay, I got 2 CP. We're going to reroll one of these. One of them has devs and just like see if we can get this guy because he was burning his natural. And so if he got his burn off on his natural, we would have tied 86-86. Like that's literally what it came down to. So barely edged it out just because we got the Guo at the very end. I think Alec played it very well. He was a great opponent. I think I think the biggest thing was probably definitely a little bit of a tougher matchup. I think with the amount of anti-tank, long-range anti-tank I had, and the board didn't really help him that much either, just because layout 2 is one of the most open boards, if not the most open board, which definitely helped me as well. So all in all, great match, and yeah, overall, man, super just happy with the tournament. It felt great, and you know, Star Shatter was fun. Probably going to be giving Star Shatter a little bit of a break for a bit, just because you know, I mean, shooting stuff is fun, but I don't think it's like necessarily my most favorite play style of Necrons. I will admit this list is really strong. It felt really good. You know, I played relatively well into the meta, and yeah, you know, all in all, if you all stuck around this long, appreciate you watching, and we will catch you in the next one.